Do you know how to leverage vision as a living, active energy source that impacts every area of your life? My book, Pathways of Influence Timeless Processes to Build Wealth, will give you a step by step guide to achieve the above and so much more. Let me begin by explaining pathways of influence. Pathways of influence really helps you to understand the four degree of influence. First of all, the first degree of influence is influence over your personal life. And here is where you get control over your sense of self, over your sense of purpose, and over your sense of direction. Now, the average person might see this as being trivial, but let me say this to you: people can never grow beyond the sense of self. All right. You rise and you fall in your personal life, your social life, your family life, and your professional life based on the sense of self. So it makes a whole lot of sense to really commit the time, talent, and resources to master your sense of self, to have influence over your personal life. And that is where this book comes in the first degree of influence. Now, there's a second degree of influence, and this has everything to do with influence over your social life. Now, to have influence over your social life is to exercise mastery in the art of building and leveraging mentorship, coaching, sponsorship programs, and supportive communities that are all designed to help you get the high reward, the measure of results, the predictable outcome with the highest degree of accuracy. Now, here is where you have intentionally designed social environment to reach and exceed the interests of the collective. That is the second degree of influence. Now, there's a third degree of influence, and the third degree of influence is influence over your family. Now, let me say this: your family is sacred, and you need to acknowledge that the family, they're sacred. But if you do not have a sacred plan, you are set to build an average family. So, in this context, the third degree of influence, you want to ensure that you're committing the time, talent, and the resources to develop this sacred plan that can truly impact every member of that family. The third degree of influence. Now, let's look at the fourth degree of influence. And the fourth degree of influence is influence over your professional life. And here is where you are able to make an informed and educated decision because you have influence here, how far you want to go professionally. Do you want to build your brand locally, nationally, regionally, or do you want to attain international clout? Well, the fourth degree of influence really gives you the step by step approach to achieve any of the goals established above. And this is what I love about this book: Pathways of Influence Timeless Processes to Build Wealth. You get a deeper understanding of each of these pathways that really sets you up to succeed in these four major areas of life. But this is not the end. Timeless Processes to Build Wealth is also unique because here is where you get to understand what is the wealth IQ. Now, in the context of wealth IQ, you get to understand what is capital markets. And in understanding capital markets, meaning debt and equity, credit and creative financing, and hard money markets, you get an understanding as to how to access these markets, how to leverage these markets, and how to mitigate these markets. And mitigation is important. In the case that you're taking a debt for investment, you have the PITI, but do you understand how to mitigate the PITI so as to bring down the cost of capital and optimize the effective use of that capital? We go deep into this in the wealth IQ so you really understand how to leverage this body of knowledge to position yourself to build wealth the smart way. The icing on the cake, we will also look at wealth EQ. And in the wealth EQ, you will begin to understand how to leverage, how to position, first of all, yourself to be blessed. And by extension, is how to position yourself to be a blessing. Now, this goes deep into the wealth EQ, how to use emotional intelligence to make impact, to touch and transform lives and achieve your business or social objective. You see, but let me conclude by saying this. The pathway of influence must be guided by the fruits of visionary leaders. Now, what are those fruits of visionary leaders that this process must be guided by? It must be guided by vision. It must be guided by wisdom. It must be guided by resources. It must be guided by processes. It must be guided by leadership abilities. And last but not least, it must be guided by systems. Now, these step by steps is documented in my book, Pathways of Influence Timeless Processes to Build Wealth. Now, you owe it to yourself, whether you're in business, whether you're in ministry, or whether you're attempting to live and lead your personal life, to commit the time to understand this body of knowledge. Because it is in the understanding of this body of knowledge, a massive transformation will begin to take place in all of these areas of your life. Remember the fourth degree of impact. You want to impact your personal life, you want to impact your social life, you want to impact your family life, and you want to impact your professional life. You need to have influence in all of these areas in order to achieve the impact. And that influence must be guided by vision. All right? Vision must become a living, active energy source in your life. And my book, Pathways of Influence Timeless Processes to Build Wealth, will give you the step by step to achieve the above and so much more. Be blessed and see you in the next broadcast.